And we're streaming. Hello. This is Carin and Marcia, and we are here to talk to Jennifer Crawford, who is the co-founder of Sparent. So, in today's podcast episode, we talked all about partnerships. Marcia and I have been partnering since 2017 when we had our first iteration of honest conversations back then with Carin and Marcia. And then we did an in-person event, Limitless 2018, which was so awesome. I love that one-day workshop that we had at Playworker Dash. And then we kind of like got busy with our personal projects and things. And then we revived our podcast earlier this year and shortened the name Honest Convos because it was just a little more catchy and we thought it was cooler. I don't know if you agree, but you know,
and we're busy.
If you don't agree, just keep to yourself.
Yeah, you can't type out conversation. That's like we were like right. Cut it in half. We don't got time to.
Yeah, we don't have time for that. And then we Marcia had founded a conference, Connector Conference in 2018, and she had two events that were like super successful, sold out. And of course, this year it was supposed to be in person and, you know, the world. So we took it virtual and she asked me to kind of come in on that and partner to work out all the kinks and details. And that event was on Friday. It was amazing, like the best day ever. So we have been partnering a lot. And Jennifer, who also partners a lot, is here to talk with us and just kind of continue the convo that we started on our podcast episode, where we just talked about like how partnerships can like really help you realize things that you haven't thought about yourself. It can improve the relationships that you have with, you know, people that aren't your partner, because you just kind of learn how to be a better communicator because you have to communicate when you have a partner, and all these different things. So we're excited to pick Jennifer's brain. Oh, is she? I guess like it looks like I'm picking your brain, right?
Like yeah, or pulling her strings, one of the other.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm a weirdo.
I'm your puppet, girls. So. I'm your puppet.
Crawford's into it. Yeah, Jennifer and I, we worked on an event back in early March too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's right.
We partnered up, and it was all about how to make your own events, and then the world imploded, but we went virtual. We pivoted. We did the pivot dance. So yeah, Jennifer, thank you so much for being here with us today. Yeah. Carin and I actually, so Jennifer signed Sparent up to be a sponsor for the third annual Connector Conference. And then she had since put on a virtual summit and that I presented at. So in the inaugural event, like a big deal. Anyway, but we ended up hiring a Sparent to help with the Connector Conference, and Jennifer and her co-founder have this whole nurture sequence, like once you actually hire them. And Carin and I were talking to her and we're like, oh, so we're like doing this partnership podcast, and like you have a partner and we're partners, and let's partner up. And yeah, so thank you, Jennifer, for being here. And do you want to like introduce yourself a little bit more, or like tell us about your entrepreneurial path?
Well, I was going to say I love this topic because when I first started as an entrepreneur with my first business, it was a sole proprietorship, and then it became a C Corp, you know, but it was me at the helm. I was the sole owner. And, you know, looking back, it would have been really nice to have a partner. But back then I had more of an ego maybe. And, you know, I was just sort of a lone ranger. Like I wanted to do it all myself. I wanted to create this thing. I wanted all the credit. I wanted to keep all the money. I mean, really, that was what it was all about, right? Because I could have partnered any time, but it didn't even like occur to me that I would even be attracted to that option. Well, fast forward, older, wiser, don't have 20-year-old energy anymore. And you reflect and you realize that, okay, I've got some talents. I've got some in the plus columns, but I've also got a lot of minuses, right? So how amazing is it to find, you know, well, this is what I found with Sparent as for the first business that I've had a partner with. You know, my partner Meredith, you know, it works out because we have strengths where each other's have, you know, I'm strong in some areas where she's weak and vice versa. So it's such a nice, you know, I don't know, it just works out so well. And like Carin was saying, it's so nice to have somebody to share the stress with, share the workload with, brainstorm with, create something with, like not be so alone in the process. Yeah, sure, we have to, we're 50-50 partners, we share the money, but with two of us at the helm, we have, twice as much capability, right, to grow the company. And, we're only 2 years old. We've been profitable from day one. We're growing our team. Like, I don't think the business would be where it is today if just one of us had been leading it. Like, we've been able to accomplish much more together, faster.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say when you said that, you're splitting the money, but you're splitting the responsibility. It's also when you have your partner forging ahead, like it gives you that momentum too, because you're like, you're kind of like, I don't want her doing all the work, or, right. But it's like, then also I feel like when you have clients, like Carin and I, we saw both of you in the Zoom meeting, like when we, did the pre-qualification call. And not I mean, obviously we're qualified to hire, but whatever you call it, when we met.
Discovery call, yeah.
But yeah, the discovery call, and it's like, it's just reassuring for the clients to know, like, okay, I don't have to worry if Jennifer gets sick, then who does it fall to? It's like you just there's that reassurance that that the responsibility is kind of split and that they're working together. So
yeah, it's nice. And and then I've just been like partnering now. I don't feel like I want to do anything by myself now. I'm like, who can I partner with on this? And I've partnered with Mary Sue for the small business grit, virtual experiences. I partnered with Marcia for Eventomatic. I mean, to me, that is the way to go. I mean, it's double trouble, right? You just, you double the capacity for everything: creativity, work product, energy, talents. I mean, everything just gets doubled. And what a great deal that is.
It is.
Yeah, that is awesome. And then one of the things we talked about on the podcast was like the importance of having like clear roles and responsibilities, and like, this is your lane and this is mine. Not that you never will do, tasks that go into that other space, but like having that kind of agreed upon up front and like how things are going to work. And so do you also, I'm sure you probably would agree to recommend that.
Oh yeah, I know. I just painted a really, a picture with rose-colored glasses on, but these partnerships can go awry really quickly. And you're right, Carin. It's a lot of times it's poor communication up front. It's like, where are strengths? Who's going to play what role? What responsibilities are you going to take? And then whatever those responsibilities are, really owning that and making sure. I say you have to hook your horse to the right cart, right? So you really have to, a partnership is a lot like a marriage. So, just don't grab a partner off the street. I mean, you really have to know this person, right? And
swipe right. No.
It's kind of like dating. I mean, it can be like dating, but I mean, somebody that has, I would say the same values, the same work ethic, the same mission, the same drive. I mean, you have to be on the same page in so many areas. Everything else kind of will work itself out. But yeah, I have a friend right now, and she partnered actually with a family member, her daughter-in-law, and they partnered in a business. And now lawyers are involved. It's gotten so ugly. I mean, really, really nasty, ugly. It's ridiculous. So, it was a bad partnership, and there were things that weren't worked out early on, and it imploded.
So I wanted to publicly share this because I've shared it with you, Jennifer, but I felt like when we partnered up with that Eventomatic, I felt horrible because I felt like I was not carrying my load. And like, that's helped me to realize like, okay, in these partnerships, like I need to be, I don't know. I just felt like you did so much, and it made me, and I feel that way with Carin too, and with Roger. And it's like, they're just, and I don't know if it's just my own personal view on myself, because I know you were like, oh, you helped and everything, but like you were coordinating with the actual place because you had a membership there. And so I don't know. Like, I feel like for people who might be getting into partnerships, just being realistic with like their disillusionment, you know, because I know I did bring value because like I was selling tickets, like people were actually coming to it, and like we met up and we talked and we did dry runs of it and everything. But I did feel like you had more of the load of work because I had a conference that was supposed to be in like 2 weeks. So
well,
I
it's
don't
funny
know.
that you said that, because I never felt that way, honestly, at any point in the process. I never felt like, oh my God, I'm doing all the work. What's Marcia doing? That thought never crossed my mind. The only time it crossed my mind was when you brought it up, and I was like, what are you talking about? I don't feel this way. So I felt bad that you felt that way, because then I was like, oh, am I being, because I can be typical entrepreneur, control freak, and just dive in. And when I'm excited, I just want to do all the things. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'm like overstepping my bounds.
No, but that's just because I've talked to Carin about this too. And I'm like, oh my God, you're doing so much. I'm not doing enough. And then it's like, I don't know. So that's what I'm saying too, is I think it is kind of that own, like your own disillusionment, or your, the imposter syndrome, like, I'm not worthy to be working with Jennifer because she's got this all nailed down, and like, because like you did like the branding and everything. And it was like, I literally, like we met up, we were doing one of our monthly meetings, and I was like, hey, our other Jen wasn't there. And I was like, I was having this idea about a round table where we could tell people how to put on events. And then from there, it just like within, like 48 hours, the whole thing was freaking mapped out. And it was like, but I love that because obviously it gives me a ton of energy and I love creating stuff, but I don't know. So I just do want to share that with people. Like, just make sure, like I have to say, like, communication is the biggest key. Cause I feel like too with Jennifer, she knew, like, because I was very public with me hating people texting me about business. So I was like, oh my God, did I like totally like make her feel like she can't reach out to me about this thing we're working on together? Okay. Yeah. And I do know, because our relationship has like strengthened over time. And I know that you're not like someone who is going to, hem and haw and be in the background like, should I say something? Should I not? Like, you're a straight shooter,
Yeah. No, I never felt any of these things, but I always come at it from, as entrepreneurs, we tend to keep ourselves very busy, right? So when I have pockets of time where I can work on something, and I'm a doer, right? So if I'm in a partnership, I feel that accountability to my partner, like, I got to show some work. Like, I can't, I'm not going to like plan all day, and I'm not going to talk, all day about making minor decisions. Like, I want to get something done, because next week maybe I'll have less time and you'll have more time. And I felt like that did happen. Like, you did help a lot with the slide content. Sure, I made them pretty, but you actually dumped the content in there, and you had like, you did, I think, probably the majority of the digital assets that we delivered with that event. So I feel like in the end, it totally like was even Steven.
Yeah, and I do think that like the attendees were just like blown away, because like we gave away a lot of like intellectual property, like the swipe file. I was just like, you sure about this, Crawford? Like, are we really doing this? But it's like, we did want to like make an impact in these people's lives, and then
that's a good point too that you said, though, like you kind of jumped in where you had a pocket of time. And then maybe Marcia would have had more time that next week. Because I know when we relaunched the podcast, initially, Marcia was like on fire on social. And I was like sharing nothing, because I was like sharing about my other business, that I own to myself. And I felt bad because I was like, so I was like resharing, but I wasn't like originating anything. And so I was like, oh, thanks so much that you're sharing about the podcast. I promise that I will do that someday soon. Like, I didn't want her to feel like I didn't want to share it, or I was, and then like when she got a little more busy with conference stuff, then I kind of stepped up and was sharing more, because now I have that availability to do that. So I do think it's like the awareness, the communication, and just knowing, like, especially when you partner on something and you still have other things that you're doing. Like, if this is your only business, that would be different. But if you're like still doing another business or have other things happening, just being in communication, being aware, and always like voicing that, like how you guys have obviously talked about that before. Like, it's not the first time that Jennifer is hearing that you felt that way or whatever, like, so just having those conversations you can never talk about it too much. Like, just keep
No,
talking.
I think, yeah, I'm not sure people, I always hate to see communication break down because it's such a preventable,
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, I mean, it could just be simply an email like, hey, Marcia, heads up, I've got a really busy week with my business. I'm monitoring, I'll reshare, but content creation is not going to happen this week. It's going to happen next week. I mean, just, that sort of stuff. It's quick, just keeping in each other's, worlds. Because we do have, multiple things going on in our lives at all times. And it could be another business, it could be a family situation, it could be, any number of things. But yeah.
So are you and Meridoth? That's what I call her now, Meridoth. Are you and Meredith? Are you in like daily communication, or because I know on Thursdays you have your like where people, your clients can like jump in and ask questions, but what's your contact, like, communication like?
Yeah, I wouldn't say daily unless it's necessary for some reason, but we do see each other. We have a office hours, as you mentioned, for our clients on Thursdays. We have something similar for our Sparents on Wednesday mornings. And then after our office hours for our clients, we have our weekly, CEO meeting, like where we it's usually a working or we plan out something every week, that sort of thing. And then we've started doing like longer CEO days. Like we just had one where we, like this, Marcia, we're like mapping out like an even more intense like nurturing sequence for our clients, for our Sparents, for warm leads, for cold leads, for all sorts of things. So we are just mapping out those journeys, and then splitting up the responsibility for like crafting those in the CRM. And so that's been really great, just having a working day where we're just focused on one thing. We block off our calendar and we just get it done. That's been really nice.
Yeah, in today's podcast, I mentioned how like Roger and I, when the pandemic started with her hideaways, like my family, we packed up and moved to the mountains for 8 weeks, which I highly recommend if you have the ability to, like, just go away, go off the grid. But he and I had been meeting every Monday, and we had like a standing meeting, and so that kind of stopped. And like, how it is with her hideaways, Jennifer, because we talk pretty often, and it's like it was just kind of hard for me to wrap my head around like promoting a staycation business during a pandemic. Anyway, so I reached out to him over the weekend. I was like, hey, let's meet and talk, because the conference was over. I was like, hey, conference didn't kill me, so can we meet this week? Like, that was literally my message to him. And he's like, sure. So we met today, and we have like reinstated the weekly meeting. So we're going, which is just like such a sigh of relief for me, because how like with anxiety, like I just will spin out and I'll come up with every single story under the sun. And so at least like those are like the pockets of time where it's like I can go to him and just say, and so now I have like my whole list of things that I'm going to work on, and it's just like super exciting. So communication.
I love it. Yeah, it's a nice anchor. It's a nice anchor, because as we know, like a business is a living, breathing organism. So every day is a little different. Every week is different. Every month is different. There's always something that needs attention. So I think that's really smart. I was thinking about like some other challenges, and I think another important thing is kind of respecting your business partner's boundaries. I know this is really up your and Carin's wheelhouse, but for instance, my business partner Meredith, she's very intentional about what she wants her lifestyle to be, and she's very focused on that. Like and we're a little different in that I'm sort of like a workaholic by nature. Like I could work for 16 hours and be like, that was a good day. Well, and Meredith doesn't really want to work 16 hours. Like she wants a business that supports a lifestyle where she can work the hours that she wants and still have time with her husband and walks on the beach. Like she moved to the beach because that's where she, and I have to respect that, like that she she doesn't, she's not a big fan of working 16-hour days. Like, and I totally respect that, and I have to. So that's why our meetings are not like after 5 p.m. on a Friday, I mean, I could do that, but she would hate that. She would absolutely hate that. And there's nothing wrong with either one. It's just, you got to know who you are, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's that awareness.
Yeah. Is this an awkward moment?
Let's sit
It
with
looked like Marcia was working on something. That's why I didn't start talking, because I'm getting good at reading her. So I was like, she looks like she's working on something. There's something marinating there. So
there is, but you know me and my inability to filter. So I am wondering, because I do have my boundaries and I don't want to work 24/7, but I do. That's the secret, is that I want to be working behind the scenes because I love it and I love the fulfillment, but I don't want other people to have access to me 24/7. But with Carin, it's different. So like, are we going to crash and burn? Like, I'm nervous now, Crawford, because like, I just feel like, because we'll like chat all the time, but I do feel like there is that respect level, because like on the weekends, and we're going to talk about that during our next level Facebook Lives, but since we are going so hard during the week, our weekends, we're just like, like we feel like we can have that brain break, and like the brain's popping and everything, and like I'll text her something, or I was like, hey, can we do Boxer now? And but it's like there's no expectation of a return, like a response, so I just get nervous, but I do feel like we just have that rapport, so
well, you have a long relationship together, so you've had that time to get to know each other as people, and your cadences and your work styles, and that's a big benefit to you. I mean, so that you already have that longevity. You're sort of a proven concept in partnership at this point.
Okay,
I don't think
good.
you have to worry about crashing and burning.
Okay, thank you for validating that.
You're welcome.
Jennifer's like, wait, when did this turn into like counseling? It's like couples counseling. I love it.
Oh my God. But
it's like that has always been my biggest trepidation of like getting into a relationship with anyone, is just that trust. Like, because like I like a business is like a baby. Like you really do. You nurture it and you take care of it and you watch it grow. And then like, and one of the things that you didn't mention with the like splitting stuff is like the celebrations. Like when you actually get someone to sign up, you're just like, you said the like the memes and the gifts and the meme gifts and just it's I'm loving it. And that we had talked about that, Jennifer, about like, because I was like a loner, and I mean, Carin, you were too. Like we were, and it's like we are now transformed for the betterment of society.
I think it makes us better people. It makes us better business women. Carin mentioned this earlier. I mean, it really does help your leadership skills, because you do have to be a good communicator. You do have to work with somebody really closely. You can't hang on to your ideas so hard. You have to give a little. I think typical business owner, I'm very I'm hard-headed. I'm strong-willed when I want to be. I'll jam my idea down your throat until you're like, okay, I'll do your idea. But you really, that really doesn't work with a partnership so much. And I've had, and I respect Meredith so much, and she has a great business mind, and she thinks about things differently than I would. And sometimes initially I don't agree with her, but then I'll sit on it.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, she's right. Like she's right. Like she made it, And so that period of time, like me sitting on it, is a lot shorter now. So now a lot of times I find myself going, if Meredith thinks this, it's probably right. Like I'm going to trust her take on this situation. So it's nice to have that trust and just in somebody's business acumen and their mind, and just being willing to like give up your idea or your, what you thought was a good idea. And that's a little bit of like letting go of that ego too, which I think gets in the way business owners. Sometimes, you know, if anything gets in the way, it's ourselves, right? We tend to get in our own way more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like, it's funny because partnering up with Roger for her hideaways, like I was like, well, you know, I own 100% of Connector Conference. So like, I'm going to spend all my time and energy on that. And then it was like, okay, like what? Like, you know, like cut your hand off to spite your face or whatever that saying is. But like, you know, and then I was like, I got to bring Carin in on this, you know, and it's like, it really is an ego thing. It's like, okay, are you, you know, there, like my talents and abilities on the tech, on the online world are really very limited. So it's like, why wouldn't I partner up with someone who could help in that situation where, you know, like, I don't know, because Carin, like, she loves like AppSumo, and she'll mention stuff and I'll be like, and it's kind of like that thing where, because I'm a total cheapo, like, and you just had your money mindset
That's right, yeah.
last night, but like, I am such a cheapo, but like Carin, like anytime I want to buy something for my business, I'll be like, Carin, what kind of camera do you have? What kind of mic do you have? You know, and it's like, you learn to like trust their guidance, and it's nice because it's like a shortcut, you know?
Oh yeah. It's just nice to have somebody else there, you know, like with my partnership with Mary Sue, you know, getting into the whole online event world is a bit of a wild adventure because everybody's sort of pivoting to virtual. So there's a lot of competition in the space. There are a lot of people doing a lot of the same things. And then you're like, well, is that how we should do it? And no, it's like, oh, we want to carve out our own personality and do it our way and not be a copycat of a gazillion other virtual events. And then what does that look like? And then the pricing, it's like, well, so many people are doing free, but how are they doing it for free? Because it's a lot of time and energy, and it's not free for us to put it on. So, I mean, there's all this like, it's just nice to have somebody to go back and forth with, look at things when you're having like maybe a day where your mindset's a little weak on the weak side, or you're having, you know, imposter syndrome, or you're doubting your capabilities. Then you have that other person that is, you know, will be like, no, don't go there. Like, we've got this, you know. And I think Mary Sue and I are pretty good at doing that for each other, which is really nice.
That is nice. So in closing, everybody go out and get a partner. No, we did mention in the podcast that like that is one of the benefits of having like a business partnership is it's not like a life, it's not like a personal relationship with a spouse or, you know, a friend or a boyfriend or girlfriend. It's like you can actually remove the emotion by saying like, what is the thing that's going to move our business forward? You know? And so I think that that's just such a cool dynamic to have in a personal, professional relationship, you know, because it's like, you know, what's going to make our baby the healthiest, you know? And so cool stuff.
Awesome. Like, thank you so much
thanks for having me, and thanks for you guys have the best topics on your convos. I have to say, I love how you guys are developing the show. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you can, I linked to Sparent in the description, so definitely check that out. Our VA was amazing. Yes, she was, Heather. I mean, they do like a matchmaking situation, and it was just like the perfect person. And yeah, it was a great experience with you guys. So we loved it.
So glad to hear that.
So check that out, because every business owner needs a help. You need a VA or somebody we're figuring that out. Like, you can't do it all yourself, and you become the bottleneck. And so anyways, that's right. Go check that out.
Thanks, Carin. Thanks, Marcia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Until next time. Bye.